Yeah.
You are live.
Okay. Okay. So thank you to all the speakers that are participating today for the SAO Agro side event taking place at AGRF. AGRF is one of the, undoubtedly one of the largest agricultural forums worldwide. And SAO Agro are leading this side event to focus on two very, very important value chains, cocoa and oil palm. We are short of time, so with that in mind, I would like to invite our keynote speaker, His Excellency Oluwarotimi Akeredolu, the Executive Governor of Ondo State, who will be giving us an insight to cocoa and oil palm in Ondo State, as well as the agricultural potential within the state. Over to you, Your Excellency.
Okay, thank you. Let me, the Managing Director, AGRO, Jennifer Bam, the CEO of SAO, other speakers, able speakers, other investors, everybody here, let me just say that. I bring you greetings from the good people of Ondo State, and I want to say that since we came in to office in 2017, we have tried to put in place several platforms to coordinate economic, infrastructural, and industrial growth in the state. And one of those platforms include ONDIPA, the Ondo State Agribusiness Empowerment Center, OSAIC, and several other platforms. One of them is headed by Akinlotu, who is here, my SSA on agri and agric business. Our plan really has been to create an enabling environment for industrial and infrastructural growth by collaborating with credible investors, mostly from private sectors. This effort has culminated in a few developments like the Ore Industrial Park, the Ondoli Park, the Micro Ally Industry Limited, Modern Industrial Park, and currently the Ondo State Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone, which is being championed by the African Development Bank and SAO as lead promoters. The Special Agro-Industrial Park has its main focus on oil palm and cocoa. And I believe that we plan to have several clusters to cover over 54,000 hectares of oil palm plantation around the site. River Loire they have a perennial river that flows all throughout the year. And we have two large plants that are around that area. We have within the 500 meters radius, we have 30 megawatt or a power plant and 650 megawatt Omotosho IPP. We also have the longest gas pipeline, which is coming up, and that is ELPS 2, the Escavos Lagos pipeline system, which I was going to go through that. In the same vicinity, we have many industrial hubs that will be sharing infrastructure with what we are planning to have, such as the Ondoli Industrial Hub. Alice carries an LPG facility and a 120 metric ton inland terminal established within our industrial assets. Our administration really concerned about revolutionary oil palm, revolutionize oil palm within the state with an annual target of 320,000 metric ton oil palm produce, and to enlarge whether we enlarge and increase oil palm plantation in the state with new investors that I've mentioned that we have in mind. SAO is there. We have JB Farms who have shown great interest. We have Ella Lakes. We have Acme Farms. We have Sunshine Oil Palm, to name a few. All of them are trying to do this. And already we have in existence Okitupa Oil Palm Company, the Oderele Oil Palm Limited, and Ayeso Araromi Oil. All these ones have been in existence. We're trying to modernize them. The goal of the state is to lead in oil palm plantation. And that's why we have said we are about to develop in Ondo State the Royal Red Gold Project. We have time in Red Gold Project. The idea behind the Red Gold Project in this is that the state is setting aside 54,000 hectares of land for development of oil palm plantation, which we are going to allocate to credible and worthy investors. And this we have started to do. In addition to this, I believe that development of oil palm is central to Ondo State, because we used to lead and we want to take back our position, and we are inviting so many investors to come. On cocoa is second only to Petroleum Nigeria Foreign Exchange earning. Incidentally, that is Ondo State #1 cash crop. Our state has good comparative advantage in cocoa production, which is manifest in our leadership position among Nigerian cocoa producing states since the crop was introduced into Nigeria in 1874. Our administration decided to upgrade the State Cocoa Revolution Project to a full-fledged agency. That's why we now have Cocoa Revolution and Management Agency, saddled with the responsibility of handling all issues on the entire cocoa value chain. That means production, marketing, value addition, and local consumption in the state. The agency has taken the initiative to improve substantially the current cocoa output of 80,000 metric tons per annum to minimum 150,000 metric tons per annum within 5 years on a sustainable basis. Cocoa is the most important crop which Ondo State is producing, with over 60% of farmers engaged in its production. We have over 60% of our farmers who are engaged in cocoa production. Ondo State has over 153,000 hectares of cocoa farms, apart from the 75 hectares hybrid cocoa seed gardens in 6 locations across the state. Cocoa is produced in all, at least but 2. We have 18 local governments, but in all but 2 local governments in the state, with bulk coming from 6 local governments that make up the Central Senatorial District. It's on record, I can say here, that Nigeria has exported 310,000 metric tons in 1970-71 season. Ondo State accounted for 170,000 metric tons, 54.8% of what we exported around that time. So Ondo State is ready. Yes, we want to arrest the declining productivity. Ondo State is ready to do a lot to make sure that this is done. So there's no going saying that the fact that cocoa farmers account for only 5% of the global cocoa revenue. Processors and manufacturers have about 65%, while marketers and advertisers account for 15%. Our farmers desire and deserve higher returns. Towards realizing the above objective, the state government critically reviewed existing government policies and a program on cocoa, and we have conducted an in-depth appraisal of cocoa economy in relation to the field production, marketing, and processing companies in the state. Our administration has therefore embraced and have backed upon an omnibus cocoa value chain development program to attain increased productivity, both in quantity and quality, by emplacing modern, profitable, and sustainable production technology through a new generation of youth farmers with enhanced livelihood following the climate smart agricultural principles. We're also doing all we can to promote value chain or value addition with a view to achieving optimum returns and enhancing the livelihood of farmers, which will be further impacted when Ondo SAPZ, supported by AFDB, is fully functional. For us to drastically increase our foreign exchange earnings through export, we are investing heavily in chocolate production for local consumption and export through our Sunshine Chocolate Factory in Alade in Idori, and sale of premium cocoa bean for our farmers who still want to export beans. Our Cocoa Revolution initiative focuses on the entire cocoa value chain, and part of our strategy include massive production of hybrid cocoa seedlings, and this we are trying to do as much as possible. We have rehabilitated many of old and moribund cocoa farms across the state, especially the 1,744 hectares of that cocoa farm estate built by late Sage Chief Obafemi Awolowo. We have also established modern cocoa plantation in Jugbere, in Owo, on over 9,000 hectares of land. We have also rehabilitated the state cocoa seed gardens, established new ones for the multiplication of improved cocoa cultivars and preservation of old varieties. This is a time to create our own vision for Africa food system. What we invest in African agriculture today will determine the future of food in Africa and the world tomorrow. Gone are the days when we are perceived agriculture to just be a way of life. Agriculture should be taking Africa as a business that creates wealth and guarantees our food security. I want to implore stakeholders in the sectors to come with us on this journey of revolutionizing agriculture in the state. With our partners, we cannot overemphasize the role of our women and youth in transforming African food system. Now, more than ever, we must prioritize inclusive agricultural transformation through climate-smart agriculture. We must work collaboratively to ensure that policy, technology, and finances respond to the needs of our farmers in Africa. This is a must to achieve zero hunger across the continent and around the globe. And I believe that AGRF Forum provides us opportunity to listen, innovate, plan, and invest for Africa. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Your commitment to agriculture in the States is indeed admirable. In view of the time, we'll move on to the next session, okay? As you said, the Special Agro-Processing Zones is an initiative led by the African Development Bank, and it's designed to boost productivity, boost processing, boost marketing on specific commodities. In today's session, we're focused on oil palm and cocoa. And in this fireside chat, you will get further insights into this laudable initiative, which is the Special Agro-Processing Zones. And then our speakers in the session will also share their respective activities when it comes to oil palm and cocoa in Ondo states. So on this particular session, we have Ms. Monde, who is the SAPZ lead at the African Development Bank. We also have Mr. Richard Mark Ibrahim, who's a technical advisor for the Minister of Agriculture. We have Mr. Ajibola, who's CEO of JB Farms. We also have Mr. Chuka Mordi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Ella Lakes. And of course, I'll be moderating the session. So Ms. Monde, it would be fantastic if you could give an insight, a deeper insight into the Special Agro-Processing Zones, give more insight on what it's designed to achieve and this current status of it. Thank you, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. And thank you once again for the privilege to be able to be a panelist on this very important agenda. Without further ado, I'll just go straight into, without assuming everybody knows what this Special Agro-Processing Zone is, I'll just speak about it very briefly in a minute. Basically, it's an agro-based special development initiative designed to concentrate agro-processing activities within areas of high agriculture potential. I mean, the executive governor has been telling us all the wonderful things and the potential that's in Ondo State. So in such an area, you know, a special agro-processing zone will be put there to boost productivity and integrate production, processing, and marketing of the selected commodities, in this case, oil palm and cocoa in Ondo State. So these will be shared facilities basically to enable agriculture producers, processors, aggregators, and distributors to operate in the same vicinity, thereby reducing the transaction costs and sharing business development services, increasing productivity and competitiveness in the process. So what the government would do is become an enabler and bring in the infrastructure required to these rural areas of high agriculture potential to attract private investments. And these would include energy, water, roads, and ICT, among others, waste treatment facilities, and so on. So the hub basically would offer that infrastructure, the logistics and specialized services required for agro-industrial activities. So the ownership, normally in a typical structure, the ownership and management of the hub is controlled by a dedicated and independent entity, and often in a PPP arrangement, a public-private partnership arrangement with the government. I'll just show one slide quickly, just very, very quickly because of time, just one, which just typically shows us, sorry, I've just lost that page, sorry, which will show us exactly what an SAPZ looks like and what it's ultimately supposed to achieve. Sorry, where's that screen share function? Okay. So basically, as you can see, it involves everything from input supply to the smallholder farmers, to the large commercial farmers, to the medium farmers for improved seed, fertilizers, farm credit, irrigation, mechanization, whatever is required to improve production and boost productivity. And once this is happening, we've got excess production, which is then aggregated, stored, pre-processed, sorted, graded, to improve the shelf life at the agriculture transformation center level. These agriculture transformation centers are set deep within the production area to serve as aggregation centers and primary processing units, because typically production is characterized by huge post-harvest losses. So this will then be curbed at this stage. Then this will further be taken to be processed at the AGRO hub and distributed to the markets, both domestic and foreign. So this is just a slide that I like to show because it gives an overview of what this is. So now in Nigeria, at the moment, we are just finalizing a phase. So the government of Nigeria approached the bank to request for 500 million for the SAPZ program. So this year in 2021, we're financing 8 SAPZs. So those include basically Oyo State, Ogun State, Kano State, Kwara, Kaduna, the FCT, Imo, and Cross River. But subsequently, in a few months' time, basically at the beginning of 2022, we are beginning to look at another set of states, of which Ondo is one of them, Ondo, Ekiti, among others. So what's going on now is we're getting these states ready for financing next year. So the readiness process takes quite a while because there's environmental and social impact assessments and other feasibility studies that need to be done in order to get the states ready. So I'm happy to say that Ondo has fulfilled most of these and is just waiting for the next set of financing arrangements to be in place. So this year, basically, we've managed to mobilize 520 million for the 8 initial states. And we're all at various, there's 3 financiers, and we're all at various stages of preparation for the financing. So we're about to go to the board next month, while IFAD and Islamic Development Bank go to their boards in December, respectively. So basically, that's where we are. And the components are essentially ensuring that we have the infrastructure for the hubs. Then we should enhance productivity and production, like I mentioned. So partners like IFAD come in there because that's their forte. And then we've got capacity building and technical assistance to ensure that all the actors along the value chain are empowered. And gender is definitely something we mainstream climate change. So climate smart agriculture practices, climate smart infrastructure, and so on, youth, jobs for youth, and all that along the entire value chain. So I'll stop here, and I think that's a brief introduction. If there's further questions later on, I'm happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So I want to move on to Mr. Richard, who is the technical advisor to the Ministry of Agriculture. And it would be fantastic if Mr. Richard could share some insights as to how the government, particularly the Ministry of Agriculture, is supporting SAPZ, most especially in Ondo State. So over to you, Mr. Richard.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me, please?
Yes.
Okay, Excellencies, all protocols duly observed. For us, I mean, the program is in itself the brainchild of the ministry, and it's supported by the development financial institutions, Africa Development Bank being at the forefront. So we consider this to be a critical, intervention in the sense of it basically assisting us to really cater for the entire value chain of the agricultural sector, focusing primarily on the industrial, industrial side of things. So if we were to understand it strictly from the standpoint of galvanizing the system, then we get the sense that, typically infrastructure is at the center of the needs, of these entities. And on that score, the focus is really to provide infrastructure in communes and in areas where this is really lacking. So for Ondo State, like Monday had rightly mentioned, we are looking to onboard them in the second phase. And from what His Excellency has already stated, it is undoubtedly, it's clear that they are well prepared, and we can't wait to have them come on board. But it's also critical for me to underscore the fact that the state government's efforts right now is in itself, will I say, an engenderer, because most of the states in the first phase and those who are lining up for the second phase have actually taken steps, to improve the lot of their agricultural stakeholders. So it's quite exciting times, and at the level of the ministry, we are totally supporting this.
Okay, thank you so much for that intervention. So I want to move on to Mr. Ajibola, CEO of JB Farms. Oil palm is one of the focuses of this particular session. And in a bid to attract further stakeholders, it's obviously good when we can hear those who are doing well in that particular sector sharing their insights. So if we could have some few comments from you, Mr. Ajibola, on your work in oil palm and the opportunities for investors. Mr. Ajibola. Okay, in that case, I can't seem to see him online. So perhaps we'll move on to Mr. Chuka, who is CEO of LLX, who have an intention to scale up their activities in the cocoa sector. Perhaps, Mr. Chuka, if you could share some insights to some of the work that LLX is doing on those states and the opportunities for investors.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. Well, as you know, we've got an initial allocation of 5,000 hectares in Ondo State, which we're currently starting clearing. we started our land clearing and land preparation exercise last week. So we're hoping to move forward as quickly as possible, just being in time for this particular planting season. I want to say that, one, from the point of view of enablement, the on-the-state government has been very, very helpful in terms of accelerating the CFO process, in terms of accelerating the business environment, so we could move very fast. So the plan is to do the land clearing this year, the land preparation, and scale up as significantly and quickly as possible.
Fantastic. So as we do not have Mr. Ajibola on the line, I perhaps, in view of time, will move on to the next session. Thank you so much for also acknowledging the ease of business in Ondo State. We do hope that as a result of this session, we can attract more stakeholders into Ondo State. Okay. We're about to move on to the next session, which is agro-financing opportunities in SAPZ. As His Excellency mentioned earlier, SCO Agro, in partnership with the African Development, are pioneering SAPZ in Ondo State. SCO Investment Group is one of the leading investment groups in Africa, and through their subsidiary SCO Agro, they intend to create thousands of jobs across the oil palm and cocoa value chains in Ondo State. With that in mind, I would like to introduce Mr. Alan Martin, who will be giving some insight into SCO Agro, a subsidiary of SCO Investment Group.
Okay, thank you very much. Right. Good morning, Your Excellency, the Managing Directors of AGRF, CEO of SCO Agro Partners, investors, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Martin. I'm a Chief Operating Officer at SCO Group. SCO Group is a wholly owned Nigerian company partnering with the Ondo State government to further develop the oil palm and cocoa value chain. As one of Africa's leading social impact investment firms, we have a very strong focus on the agricultural sector. We at SCO have a national and global outlook that focuses on the strategic development of transformational projects that create sustainable economic impact for our investors, the companies we invest in, and the communities in which we work. Now, this is achieved by having corporate offices in Abuja, Lagos, London, and we have satellite offices in Akure and Ilorin. Also, we have to make reference to our dynamic team, who all have significant practical experience and understanding of the Nigerian environment. Now, our consortium, who are the primary anchor investors on the SAPZ, will establish a world-class processing hub with the following socio-economic impact and project goals. Firstly, increase farmers' incomes and purchasing power, price stability and regulatory control, increase demand, both domestic and international, thus increasing forex earnings, improve farmer living and working conditions, introduce ethical practices and fair treatment, and move towards climate-smart agriculture by combining forestry within its cultivation process. And the Special Agricultural Processing Zone will support the state agro-revolution program. It will be implemented, as the Governor said, on 54,000 hectares of farmland in Ori, with a further 3,000 hectares of land strategically placed to form the backbone and the actual processing hub. The hub itself will serve various commercial feedings, especially the oil palm city and cocoa plantations, where we, SCO Agro, have already started the land clearing and the establishment of a nursery. Okay, finally, why Ori? Well, Ori is located in the southwestern Nigeria. It sits on Atlantic Ocean. is rich in aquatic and mineral resources, which are of significant importance. Ore is perfectly located to complement the already existing industries that already benefit from their close proximity to Lagos and its local airport in AGRO. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that intervention, Mr. Allen. So in this particular session, we will be talking about the financing opportunities within the agricultural zone, special agro-processing zone, sorry, especially with a focus on cocoa and oil palm. In this particular session, we have Mr. Samuel Akin-Olotu, who's the SSA on agribusiness in Ondo State. We have Dr. Olabinton Adebowale, who's a development finance on cocoa value chain. We also have Mr. Hemensi, who's the Vice President Commercial at AFEX. We have Mrs. Injeka, who's Development Finance at the Senior Manager, Central Bank of Nigeria. And we also have Chief Abiodun Adeojo, who is the Chairman for the National Oil Palm Association. So just to give a further introduction, I'd like to invite Mr. Samuel to give further insight to how Ondo State is supporting SAPZ, particularly in the area of infrastructure, ease of business in the States.
Yeah, good morning to everyone in the house. Mr. Governor has said a lot about what the state what we've been able to do in the past few years to create an enabling environment for investors in the agricultural sector. Apart from the one-stop shop, which is ONDIPA, and the OSAIC, which is created to drive agribusiness in the state, we've been working on rural roads, energy, and a lot of other critical infrastructural needs, I mean, to drive the sector. And I can assure you that both existing and for us at now, we've given out about 64,000 hectares of farmland to investors in the state. Some, I mean, ranging between 10,000 maximum to some about 200 and about 200 hectares each for the smaller holders. Then we are equally working with Ondo State is having the largest number of smallholders in the country, smallholders in terms of oil palm. And in this regard, we are partnering with IDH, a Dutch organization, to further build the capacity of our smallholders. Talking about investment opportunities, as of today, we are seriously, I could see great potentials in the seedlings sector, both for cocoa and oil palm in particular, because farmers in the state today are very conscious of the fact that you just have to get the right type of seedlings. And palm elite seems to be the one everyone is attracted to. But when you look at the foreign exchange challenge we're having in the country today, so the cost of top quality seedlings is going up. In this regard, I want to appeal to Central Bank of Nigeria to consider an intervention in the development of quality seedlings in the state. We are looking at using one of Olusegun Magagu University because it's right there in Okitipupa. And you know, we have Okitipupa oil palm estate used to be the largest in West Africa some years back. And the place is coming back seriously. For the first time in the past 15, 20 years, they had the annual general meeting this year.
I just want to interject that in view of time. I'm
Okay.
glad that you appealed to the CBN, and we have two of the representatives on this panel session who are actively financing cocoa and oil palm. So with that in mind, I would like to introduce Mrs. Njide to speak on oil palm financing. 2 minutes, please, in view of time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon. Now we're just past 12. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Njide Kawabuku from Central Bank of Nigeria. I'll just highlight some of the efforts of the bank towards oil palm development. I'll speak for oil palm, and my colleague, Dr. Bimtor, will speak for cocoa. So for oil palm, the efforts of the central bank largely targeted at closing the gap of about 1.25 million metric tons, this according to NIFOR statistics, to achieve a number of economic objectives, including job creation and forex conservation, among others. These efforts largely include providing and channeling affordable long-term finance to oil palm value chain projects and towards stakeholder engagement to address some identified challenges in the course of executing these projects. And under financing, more than 50 billion has been disbursed through deposit money banks to greenfield and brownfield projects. These include plantation development, expansion, mill construction, etc. However, the finance projects are majorly for the big firms. Only a few SMEs and smallholders have benefited, especially when you consider their dominance. About 80% of cultivation is done by these categories. So we've gone a step further to identify some of these challenges and how we can address them. And some of them like collateral adequacy, capacity issues, corporate governance requirements, and so on. And then one of the ways we are doing this is by supporting the big firms to provide technical assistance. We provide funding and they will bring in technical assistance in their partnership with some of these SME companies towards oil palm development. And then recently we've developed a financing framework for smallholders. It will address some of the challenges, and particularly it will include risk sharing so that they can participate more. We acknowledge the efforts of Ondo State, particularly its intentional efforts at agro-allied development. And we're in discussion with the state and their PFI, like Mr. Olotu mentioned, and we're happy to fund their scheme when it comes up. We already had discussed with Mr. Olotu. Ondo State has a bankable structure. That's why they've gone that far with their bank. And in due course, the scheme, the learning points will be shared with other states who also wish to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that intervention. And it's a pleasure to hear more about, your commitment towards supporting smallholders. Now, you spoke about CBN's framework for oil palm. Dr. Adebowale, if you could also give more insight to CBN's framework and financing for cocoa. 2 minutes, please, very short intervention.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, my governor. Good morning, every other person, everyone standing on existing protocol. And yes, the CBN remains committed to the two commodities, especially across the production belt, and laying emphasis on what we've done in Ondo State, like Njideka said. We've partnered Ondo State in a couple of ways. We've held meetings with them, and under the Anchor Brass program, we've engaged a couple of anchors from Ondo State. Also, SAO Capital, we've engaged them as well. SAO Agro Services, even the Ojugbere, cocoa estate. We're already in discussion with them. SWACO is already looking at doing something in Ondo State. We got the application, that's the expression of interest, and we're already looking at it from GT Bank. We're already working on it. And like Njideka said, we've developed a framework, because what we've observed is beyond Anchor Brass program, beyond commercial agriculture credit scheme, people, farmers engaged or interested in cultivating this long-term or trade crop commodities are having challenges with banks. One, because our banks, their product design is for short-term financing. So what we've been able to do around it, around this, is to have an hybrid intervention, which we've developed the framework. And like Njideka, my colleague, said, what we've done in that framework is to have a long-term, instead of having the usual one-year tenure commodity under the ABP, we've been able to expand to have a 7-year tenure. We'll also be able to introduce what we call a kind of abridged financing around what we require for the, what's it called, for the financing. That's the collateral requirement. We're now telling what we've done, like SWACO have done, is we're looking at CBN, graduating the what's it called, the credit risk sharing ratio between us and the banks. What we've done in the early parts of the project, we do 70%, while the banks take 30% of the risk. While after fourth year, we now reverse to 30-70. So we've been able to we engage SAO Agro Services in developing the framework as well. We shared with them, and also under the NESF, this is the non-oil export, because it's not enough to cultivate and produce. After satisfying the local market, we need to start thinking of export. So we also have interventions that will address this, and we're doing a lot with Plantation Industries Limited, agro traders, which are all in Ondo State. Also, SAO Agro Resources, they've engaged us. We are still engaged with them. We're trying to find a midpoint between the financing and everything. And so with Ondo State is one state we're looking at. It's a pioneer state for us in cocoa. It's also a pioneer state for us in implementing this framework we've talked about. And we'll still want the state to help in a number of ways. Okay. And also, I know my time is up, but also we've noticed that I was discussing with my colleague, there is an intervention the state is here to take advantage of, which is the Accelerated Agricultural Development Scheme. The state is here. It's majorly around infrastructure development. And I heard one of the speakers talking about infrastructural development. That's why I said I should bring it to the notice. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that intervention.
Sorry, before you go ahead.
Oh, I don't know yes, my governor, sir.
I don't know whether you permit me, Ms. Moderator. Adebowale is mentioned in his presentation, SWACO, and I think it's better for us to have the full name of SWACO. That's Southwest Agri Company. So that everybody knows, because you have said SWACO, not everybody will know about SWACO. I don't know whether it's...
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, that's it. The Southwest Agricultural Development Corporation, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much for that for that highlight. It's good that we have a representative of AFEX who are also involved in that SWACO intervention, and they're also doing quite a bit in cocoa financing. Yeah. With that in mind, I would like to introduce Hamensi to talk more, very briefly, on AFEX work on cocoa in Ondo States.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Folusho. I'm stepping in for Emense Oka, who is the Vice President at AFEX here. Regards to everyone, I greet you, Mr. Governor, Oluwarotimi Adwanya Keridolu. All protocols duly observed. At AFEX, our approach has been to work with the farmers directly. So having identified some of the critical issues in the cocoa value chain from the source, which is in production, issues around aging of farmers and aging of cocoa trees itself, and the lack of young people in the value chain. AFEX work has been to work with farmers directly to say, let us grant credits in terms of inputs to the farmers to aid their production, as well as other activities around the farm during the production process, including good agricultural practices, models around integrated pest management. So that's what AFEX does with the farmer. And also post-production, we're working with the farmers around fermentation, the drying process of cocoa beans, and especially bagging and transportation of cocoa beans. In Ondo State, we have about 3 warehouses and collection centers. Some are dedicated fully to traceable cocoa. We have about 2,000 farmers that we work with to have a traceable cocoa right from when the products are taken into our warehouses and for onward processing. We're also working with farmers to develop simple mechanization tools. So
we may have to just stop you there, but you've made it evident that AFEX is doing quite a lot in the cocoa space. I just want to invite 2 last speakers. Okay, Chief Abiodun Adeojo, just for 1 minute, please. Just talk about the work of the National Oil Palm Association, just for 1 minute, so that we can then do closing remarks.
All right, thank you very much for having me. Thank you. I use this opportunity to thank Mr. Governor for being there for I represent the small-scale holders of palm plantations in Ondo State and in Nigeria, because I'm the chairman board of trustees of palm in Nigeria. And our challenges definitely is what have been addressed by everybody here, because processing of palm to get oil is not it's a big challenge for the small scale holders, and the ability to access loan is one of those things too, which is very major in our challenges. And like the governor is there because of his initiative, that, but as it goes, ready and to partner with any of these major service providers to help us to develop some of our challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that intervention. So we'll leave the closing remarks to Mr. Ayo Shoturin, the CEO of SAO AGRO, and for him to do closing remarks and share his commitment to cocoa and oil palm in Ondo State. Over to you.
Okay, Babi, many thanks for moderating. Your Excellency, sir, I want to thank you for joining the session, taking out time out of your busy schedule. AFTB, Monday, which is from the ministry, our funding partners, CBN, and also other partners, investors, and people who put this who helped put this together. We at SAO, we're doing 10,000 hectares for your oil palm plantation. We started planting already because seedlings were growing. We're also doing 3,000 hectares for cocoa, which we're hoping to get some funding from CBN. The rest of the partners that we have here who are going with us on this journey, Ella Lakes, JB Farms, so thank you so much. And we're hoping that with our collective effort, we'll be able to increase production and productivity within the agro sector in Nigeria, for Africa, and also for the world. Thank you so much. We had to rush it because it's a hard stop by AGRF. I'm sure you all know AGRF is the biggest agriculture conference in Africa, and there are loads of sessions planned for today. So this is why everything sounds rushed. We're hoping that at a later time, we'll have a better platform to all come together and discuss further how we can take this sector forward, both cocoa and oil palm. Thank you so much. Bamin, over to you.
Thank you so much. I don't believe there's time for questions and answers. And if that's the case, I would like to thank everybody for participating in this session. It's quite clear that there's immense opportunities in Ondo State when it comes to cocoa and oil palm. It's quite clear that the state itself is willing and ready to support investors who are looking to go into oil palm. We heard one of our speakers talk about, the ease of access to land, access to, the needed material required to establish in Ondo State. We've also heard from the African Development Bank, who have also expressed their support to supporting Ondo State in the launching of SACZ. So with that in mind, I would like to thank all of the different speakers, particularly those who are active in the value chains, to give testament to the opportunities in the cocoa and oil palm value chain. I'd like to thank all the speakers. Your Excellency, thank you so much. SAO Group, fantastic work that you're doing in Ondo State, and we look forward to continued progress and development. Thank you so much to all the speakers and all the attendees for participating.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Shotinri and Mr. Alan Martin, can we have a meeting after, please? I won't mind having a Zoom meeting with you. Let's take this further, please. Thank you.
Yes, I'm also in, and thank you, everybody.
Mr. Chuka Modi, I would like to have a meeting with you, please. I don't have your number, but I would really appreciate if you can drop
Doctor,
it.
I'll send all that to you.
Great. Thank you. I would like to meet with him. He's done some cocoa, so thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.